Access your live. Hmm. And let me see if YouTube has started. Two concurrent users. So maybe yes, the broadcast has started. Hello everyone. Today in this video I'm going to work on a small POC, which is I want to check if I can convert my blog, which is this static little blog that I have, which is amitabroy.com. I write about things which I do in my office and a little bit of travel as well. So, the web and travel related articles. And the idea today, what I'm trying to do is right now this blog is on Laravel, but there is really no reason for this to be, you know, on Laravel because there's nothing dynamic about it. And what Next.js can do for me is it allows me to create a build of my website, which is going to be like a very static HTML set of pages. And that's what is really encouraging me to try this out because this blog is not dynamic. So if I create HTML pages, then I'll get a significant performance boost. I will get a huge benefit out of security because there's nothing dynamic about it, and there's a lot of things which can not get triggered because from a security standpoint, and I can host the website even on a CDN. So that is something which I am going to try. It's a small little POC. I'm not going to complete the entire website. That's really not what the target is today, but I would like to set up my Next.js app in a way so that it can fetch information through APIs, and when that information is there, I will try to render the blog posts. On click, I go to the individual pages, and during the build process, I'll create the entire site and then switch off my Laravel application and ensure that the website is running properly. So yes, that's what I'm trying to do. Let's see if there are users. Okay, says hi Kronal, hi Debojit. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for joining me on a Sunday morning. Uh, good morning, Debojit. It's still morning for me at least. It's 11:18. So yes, I'll just wait for a little more time so that users can join in. But in terms of the setup, what we are going to do today, we need a Laravel application and we need a Next.js application, right? So to save time, what I have done is inside my desktop, I have a folder called Amitabh Roy, and in that I have two things. I have server and I have web client. Okay, and the web client is a blank Next.js application, and the server is a blank Laravel application. Okay, so let me first open up the server, cd server, and I'll have one more terminal where I'll open up web client. Let's open both those code bases inside Visual Studio Code. Okay, this is fine. And okay, so I have these two. Okay, this is fine. Close this out. Okay, so let's quickly look at the structure. What do we have? We have my home page, which is a listing of articles. So I'll need an API which gives me the title, this metadata, and this description, and maybe even the image. Okay. Based on that, the home page will get created. After that, once I click on this, okay, which is the detail page of a blog, I should be able to see the data or the article itself. And this is markdown. So in some way, I want that the markdown should be rendered into an HTML and given back so that the front end can show that as is. Okay. So yeah, these are the two things which I'm going to try. Let's see how things go on. How many users do I have right now? Okay, that's fine. I think generally things are looking good. Krunal and Devjit, because you're here, I will request you to comment if my audio and the sound levels are correct, so that uh, if it is not, maybe I'll have to tweak it a bit. Fine. Also, just to give you a hint, this is my database. As you can see, there are around 93 articles which I have already written, and I will use this database to, which is on my local machine, to get this kind of data, right? So yeah, let's get started. I think we have spent about 5-10 minutes doing the introduction. That's fine. Yes, there are some questions. Let's see. Okay. Devjit is saying that, hello, I have a question. I'm using Windows and Laravel as WAM, but I am thinking Docker plus WSL, but afraid as I never used Docker. Does Docker really serve any purpose? Okay. So Devjit, see, Docker definitely serves a purpose. There's no doubt about it. Docker in itself is a big um, paradigm of hosting your application, or not actually hosting, but shipping your code, shipping your application as containers. And a lot of companies are using Docker nowadays. Okay. Why? Because it gives you a lot of flexibilities. It gives you the confidence of shipping the entire environment. So if you have to redeploy your application, it is going to be very easy compared to a very complicated setup, which you'll have to replicate every time. And maybe if you want to upgrade something on the server, it can become very difficult. Whereas with Docker, these type of problems are kind of eliminated because your entire infrastructure is actually like a code. Okay, so yes, this gives you advantage, but I will say it will be good if you first use WSL, get habituated with Linux. If you are not already habituated with Linux, it will definitely help you, and then you go for a complete Docker setup. After a long time exposure with Docker, when I got my new laptop, I decided not to install PHP and only rely on Docker. It took me a lot of time to set up things. Okay, although I'm not a beginner in Docker, but I'm not an expert as well. But then it took a lot of time for me to come to a situation where I can say, yes, if I want to create a Laravel application and quickly start working on it, then this is how my Docker setup should be. If I want to work on Node applications, this is how my Docker setup should be. So yes, first I would say try to get habituated with Linux environments, get a feel of it, then slowly get into Docker. Otherwise, you'll be spending a lot of time on other things and may lose the interest. Next.js and Next.js tutorials. Yes, I haven't covered that. I haven't covered this two things together. I have a few videos on my YouTube channel which are on Nest.js. You can definitely look at them, but then Nest.js is for API, so what I am going to do today in this video is very much similar. So yeah, in terms of Next.js, how you do that. Okay. How do I hide it? Okay. So Devijit is asking, I mean, in my situation of Laravel and Next.js code, you can start basically with your Laravel setup. I would strongly recommend that. First, you get that done. See, your development environment can be anything. And then to start with, your development environment can be your Laravel setup, and then you do the development. And then you can look at shipping your application as a Docker container. That is also fine. Once you get into that exposure, right, then you can start setting up your development environment as well, because there are quite a few things which will need to happen in a Docker setup. Okay. Okay, so let's get started. I think otherwise the video will become very big and people will start losing interest. So first things first, as I told you, we need to look at one API which gives me this list of blog posts. To keep things simple, we will not do a pagination right now because it is a POC. So this is my database. My posts table is right now marked as posts underscore old. Okay, and I will not create any model or stuff like that right now. I will just use simple database queries. Okay, let's come here. I'll go to my routes api.php. Let's clean up things a little bit and route get URL will be posts. Okay, function. Now, what do we need in our post listing? We definitely need the blogs in the order of their published date. So let's do that. Let's say posts equals db. Select table post posts old, right? Yes, posts underscore old. Select, and then let's have order by descending. Publish underscore date. So publish underscore date and do get. Let's do return response posts 200 straight enough. I mean, it's a pretty simple API. So just let's check that out. Localhost, localhost API posts. Oh yes, my bad. Let's go inside my env. There's no database as Laravel. It's Amitabh Roy. And now if I refresh, okay, I'm getting the JSON. It's there. Obviously, no new comments so far. Fine. So yes, the JSON is ready, but I'm getting a lot of things. I ideally would like to slim it down. So based on the designs, what do we need? We need the title. So that's the reason I have title, publish date. That's required. What else? I think there is summary is there, right? Summary and slug. Okay, slug is there. What else? Image URL. Let's keep that as well. Okay, come over here. Oops. Have I made any change? I think I need an extension to look at the JSON in a little better way. Brave Web Store JSON viewer. Let's see how this does. Yes, I think this should be fine for me. Okay. Yeah, perfect. This is easy to understand. Flutter for mobile app development, and this is my last blog post. Last, not the last one, rather the recent blog post. Yeah, definitely I'm going to blog more, but yeah, this is the recent one. So yeah, I think I have the API ready. Now we need to go into our web client, do npm run dev to spin up our Next.js application, which will run on localhost 3000. Okay, this is fine. I'll go inside my pages, index, and uh, styles, containers, main. Why don't I remove everything from here? I don't need the footer right now. So a lot of cleanup is happening over here. Okay, all good. These are straightforward descriptions, nothing too fancy about it. I'll just keep this as is. And let's see. I think the page will be blank right now. Why don't we add some basic Tailwind to it? Because it will help you understand how the setup works. And eventually, I am going to use Tailwind. So my current website is also on Tailwind, but on the older version. Framework guides and then Next.js. Things are very simple nowadays. Implementing Tailwind is a piece of cake, at least to get started with. So yeah, just follow the docs and everything should be fine. In the meantime, let me see if there are any new comments. No, nothing as of now, so that's fine. Okay. Hey, I think I made a mistake. Yes, I created a new project inside the project itself, RMRF my project. Sorry about that. Um, this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to install this. Okay, so it's installing Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefix it. Fine. Let's just do that. And then it is initializing the file. Yes. So creating the Tailwind config.js and the post CSS config.js. Okay, that's fine. So this two things are done. Now configure your template paths. Right. So this is important because what happens is when Tailwind is going to build the final CSS file, it will look for the classes which you have used and only add that to the final CSS file. Because if we ship the entire CSS Tailwind CSS file, it's a very big file and we really don't need them. And that's where this thing comes into picture. So I'll just copy these two and I'll explain what this does. Inside here, content. So we are saying that when the final CSS file is getting created, right, Tailwind should look for the pages folder and the components folder for the classes which needs to be shipped inside the final CSS file. Okay, that's all there to is. And right, let's copy this as well. Go inside styles, global CSS, and just keep these three things. That's all that we need to do. And we already are running npm run dev. I'll just restart this. And just to ensure that Tailwind is working, why don't we have something to check? Maybe class name equals text gray 700, something like this. Let's see. Um, and get rid of that styling things. Come over here. Yes, when this font is coming, that means Tailwind is applied, and that's fine. Okay, so what are the next steps? Tailwind is implemented. I can close this out. The next thing which I want to do is load the data on the home page from our API, which we just created, which is this. What is this F37? Right. Okay. Now in Next.js, there are a couple of ways to load the data when you are working with dynamic APIs. So I'll show you what are those. Next.js. Go to the docs. And by the way, I'm showing you these things because you should know where to find what. I already know how to do the data fetching, but when I'm showing you, you should know what are the things which I'm referring to so that you can read more about it to clear your concepts, if you have any questions. Correct. So Next.js is a React application, and in this you have multiple ways of pulling data. One way of pulling data is that you have a page, and in that, to fetch the data, you make an API call. It can be on your hook, like you can use effect and uh, get the data on the loading of a component. But then what is going to happen? There is no server-side rendering happening on that particular page, because Next.js will build the HTML. When it is building that HTML, the component will mount, and on will mount, this data is going to be fetched and rendered. So the crawler, the yes, the Google, let's say any kind of SEO crawler, for example, Google or some else, right? They will not find that HTML which is getting generated when you are doing a component mount. But there are certain hooks which are, or rather functions, which are executed on the server side. For example, get static props or get static paths and get server side props. These are the places where you should write your code so that the HTML is generated on the server side, which means when the crawler is coming, it gets the entire splitted HTML. Okay. So yeah, let me quickly look at. There are no more comments, right? Right. Okay. So as I told you, right, there is one method which is get static props. So what does get static props do? If you export a function called get static props from a page, Next.js will render this page at the build time using the props returned by this method. Build time. We need to understand that this is when the page is created on the server. And that's what I want to do. This page should have the entire markup when the page is generated, when it is built. So let's try to do that. Okay. Export a sync, right? I will. We can use this method, but I am comfortable doing something like export constant get. I'll just copy the function name so that I don't make a mistake. Okay, and that is something like this. Now it should return props, and inside that we will send something. Okay. Right. It's an async function, so I'll need to do this, and I need Axios. I need Axios because I'm going to make an API call. So npm I Axios. Save. The dash capital S is to ensure that the package is on this updated. Okay, right. So now, what do we want to do? First of all, get static props gets the context. Okay, the context is you can say it's almost like the request object kind of thing, from where I can get certain kinds of information. So, for example, I think I will type hint get static props. Okay, and context is over here, and then fine. Let's see. I think I'm thinking too much. Um, this is going to be a static call. So come to think of it, I even don't need the context. I can just do posts equals Axios. Why is Axios not coming? This is a strange little problem which I face on few libraries. I don't know why. Okay. Axios dot get. Is it because of the types? I'm not sure. Let me see. At the rate types types/Axios. Okay, there are type definitions for sure. So let me now get rid of this and now try to do okay. So I think that's the reason it was not getting it. But fine, now I have it. The API is kind of static, I know that. So let's hard code this for now. Okay, so a second. So await, and then I get the post. So let me console.log the posts and confirm that I am getting that information over here. Hit refresh, and inside the terminal again, this console, right? It will not show up over here, right? It is not going to show up over here because it's a server-side call. So the server-side calls console will show up on the terminal, and we have this, which is great. So why don't we just return posts? Get rid of this console, and now I think response. I know what is happening. So constant posts equals response.data. Maybe that's the reason. Let me try again. Yes, it is. By the way, I had one more extension, which was the React component. It kind of went away. I need that. React developer tools, add to Brave, and yeah. So with this in place, this component is very useful, and hence I always try to have that. So yes, inside components, if you go to home, you can see I'm getting this props. Okay, so that means this component is getting the data which is being passed, which is returned by this static method, this get static props method. Okay, so in here, let me tell my next page component that I have an interface for props where posts is of type. Okay. For now, let's keep it any and props posts. So I'm destructuring it. So next page is a type of component which we get with next module itself. And when I'm passing this props, what happens is this component will know that anything which is coming over here is available for us to destructure. And I can play around with it. But now this is any. What I can do is quickly, um, how do I, we can do types and then posts dot post, rather post.ts interface. Interface is okay, fine. It's post. What do we have? We have title, string. Most of them will be like that. So title, then publish date. I don't know if it works as a date. Maybe it will. Okay, summary. It can be this or null. Okay, slug and image URL and export default post. And in here, I will do this is of type post. Okay. Now again, this is something which is only specific to TypeScript. If you are using JavaScript, you're fine. You don't need to define this, but I do this in places because what is going to happen is, okay, by the way, I made a mistake. It's an array of posts. Okay. I'll do this because, let's see, if I come over here and do posts.map and I'll do post like this, return a div, and in this, first let me add the key. Okay, and I need an ID for this, so maybe I will also send the ID in the API, and I'll just add this type ID number. Okay, and this is going to be post dot. And now can you see there are so many all the properties are available directly, and that's the reason I add those types. It really helps me in the development. So I need the title, right? So I'll do post dot and I can see I get the title. Fine. Let's come to our page and see what do we have. Yes, everything is generated immediately. It was complaining about the key, but yes, now it is solved. Okay, so the basic part, which is to show the title, is done, and I can immediately see that this is available. Are there any questions? Can I put export site Next.js inside Laravel? So I have to host only one site, not two, for API plus frontend. Okay, it depends, Devjit. If you have a static website, um, right? See the it will be a little tricky because the Laravel application, right? If you take this for example, the API, you will need some APIs to get the data, but then your Next.js application is also inside the public folder. It can create a little bit of confusion, and maybe what you will have to do is then keep some everything inside the blog folder. But yes, technically it is possible, but it will be a little bit tricky. That's what I feel. Okay. The next question was, sorry, I should have added that here. So you are using local Laravel plus Next.js to export the blog site as static page. Yes. Or hosting Laravel API to another server. All right. My final intention is to have my API hosted on my own VPC. I have an Amazon server. I will host my API there. I will keep it on maintenance mode most of the time, because I will need that API to run only when my website needs to be built, and the final set of static pages I will be hosting on Vercel, and that's why I'm very excited, because Vercel should ideally give me blazing fast performance. All right, I need to hide that. Chung Kang. Hi, good night. It's good morning over here, but yeah, if you are from a different time zone, good evening. Okay, hmm. Let me quickly do a little bit of. Um, should I do it now or maybe later on? Let's keep it for later. I think, and otherwise the video will become quite big. So I have a div. Inside the div, let's just say we have h1, no, h2, and then that I have post title. I'll just do a small little tweak, which is text, 4xl, I think. All right, that's fine. And then I'll do post dot summary and post dot summary, something like this. So what is going to happen is there are certain articles where I don't have summary. So yes, that's how it will look. I know it's not very good looking, but it's fine. And image. Okay, in this, ideally you should use the image tag. There's a okay. Let me actually use that. Next image src is post dot image URL. Should work, right? Nah, it will. Yes. So this is where I struggle a little bit. 240 height, 120. It's not working. Let's see the image tag. What does it say? Source. All. That was all there to is. So what was the problem? I don't know. Does it need the alt as well? My image. If that helps. No, it doesn't. Invalid source. Okay. Ah, yes. I know what the problem is. Invalid source prop. There is a configuration required for the domain to be whitelisted. Domains. Okay, fine. Let me copy this over here, and I'll copy this domain. Next config. What was the configuration? Let me see. Exports images. Next config module export. So domains. No. Images. Yes. It's an object which takes domains, which is an array. And if I pass it here, then what will happen? Do I need to restart? I don't know. Okay, compiled. Hostname, this is not, maybe the HTTPS is not required because it's a domain, right? So I made a mistake maybe. Let's see, next JS configuration. Get rid of this piece. Restart server to see the change. Okay. Cannot read property default of null. Okay. Null of what? Are there some places where images are not there, a possibility. I don't deny. There are some places where images are not there, so I'll just do this. Right. This is done. All good. So we have a horrible looking listing of blocks, but they do load the images, and we have title. So the first page is created. Okay. The first page, which is the home page, is created, and the next page which I would like to um, generate is the detail page. But before that, I want to show you something. Okay, why I am saying that this will result in a static page. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll switch off the server and do npm run build. In the meantime, let me see if there are any comments. No, nothing as of now, so we are fine. Right. Few pages were created. API hello slash app 404 and the root. Okay, and now npm run start. Website is running. This is my Laravel application. I'll close this out. So that means this API is no more available. But if I now hit refresh, can you see this page still works? All the blog posts, all the articles are coming over here. How is that possible? Because the code that we wrote in here is expecting data from an API, and this API is not running anymore. So what happened is inside Next.js, if you see, there is static folder, and inside here, everything is generated. This is the page. Okay, I mean, obviously, please don't go inside and try and understand, but there should be an HTML page as well. Yes, can you see? Flutter. Yes, everything is there. So what we can see is that the entire website, the entire home page, right now it is a home page, but we will have other pages as well. But right now the entire home page HTML is generated, and hence the dependency of the API is gone, which means if my application, the Laravel API, is down, even then my website has no problem. It can continue to run because these are static pages. Okay, any new comments? No, nothing. So let's continue. I will have to start the server again. And in here, what does it say? For production image optimization with Next.js, the optional Sharp package is strongly recommended. Run yarn add Sharp, and Next.js will use it automatically. Okay, we will do that when I have the final version, but right now let's start the development. Okay, now next piece. Where is my blog? If you see the URL of my blog, it says just read / content articles and then the slug, something like this, right? And to get this kind of an URL, which I need to because I already have gained some SEO juice and I don't want to get rid of that, correct? So what I will do is I'll create a page called slug.tsx. Okay, this is the page which will be used for the inner page, or showing the blog post. Okay, let's do that. Constant blog detail. It's the next page. um, Syntax, please. Yes, sorry about that, I tend to forget this. Hold on, editor config. I need this because it is taking two tabs, which is not ideal. Editor config, and I just need root tab space 2, right? And I do a div over here so that I'll have something to work with. Export default blog detail page. Perfect. So we have this, and let me look at my notes a little bit so that I don't waste time and I don't make mistakes. Right. In here, what I need to do is context. Hmm. This is very weird. The stream suddenly stopped. I'm so sorry about it because I didn't even realize that the stream was stopped. So I think now it is back. Let me see. I don't see that on my browser. Playback, watch time. There's generally a delay, but then um, should come back again, right? Is my internet working? Internet is working for sure. Uh, what just happened? Is it back? Because my on my YouTube Studio, I don't see my stream. Okay, now I do. And right. Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. StreamYard just crashed and the stream was paused. Fortunately, I haven't switched the option of auto stop, so the stream continued at least. But yeah, that's bad. Um, Let me see what has happened over here. Mm, hmm. Okay, so what we were doing was I'm trying to get the slug from the URL and try to show the post. So maybe what I'll do is again go back to request $request and take this slug, okay, and pop, 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 slug equals no hmm, slug question mark, right. Something is very weird. I don't know why this is happening. I'm missing something very bad. um so I have db table where and first, okay. mm, I'm getting the post as a die dump over here. Right. it's it really doesn't make sense. So it is object. It's a hack. I don't want to actually do it, but JSON decode, JSON encode, and if I now, no, it's still not doing it. Hmm. Okay, let's try and do one thing. Return dollar post. Hmm. So the helper function is doing something different. If I copy this and do this, will that work? No, again it failed. But somehow, if I just do a return like this, it does work. I don't know. We'll have to see, but that's fine. Um, at least we have the data. So the idea now here is that I quickly try and click over here and get that thing. How long is the stream now? 55 minutes. So it's quite big. Let's try to wrap a few things quickly so that you get the general sense of how things are done. Clean up. Right. So I have to make an API call to get the data over here. Okay. And the URL in this case is going to be something like this. Okay. And in here, we'll get the context. I'll do constant slug equals context, and this, and I need to, do I need to define? Maybe not. I'll just try and use the template literal strings and see if I am able to get that piece of thing. So over here, till this, I'll do slug, dollar slug. Post is post. Okay, let's see. So we have to link in a way so that the user can click on that. So we have link in Next.js where we do there's no href, just pass this href equals we have just read content articles. Something is wrong. Yeah, and then dollar post dot slug. Let's come here and let's try and see. Yes. So as you can see, the URL is forming. So we are doing this properly. The only thing is, it says get static paths is required for dynamic SSG pages and is missing for this particular thing. Right. Let's understand the concept. If a page has dynamic routes and uses get static props, it needs to define a list of paths to be statically generated. Now, what does this mean? This is my home page. Now, when Next.js will generate, we are saying that Next.js is going to generate all the pages. How will it know? How will it know how many pages it needs to generate? Because when it is loading this page, which in our case is this particular thing, okay, we will be making an API call to get this information. That's fine. But then how does it know that there are, let's say, X number of URLs that it needs to generate? Because right now, as you can see, I have 93 blog posts. So Next.js somehow needs to know that there are 93 blog posts which it needs to generate, right? And that's where what we have to do is define this function, which is get static paths. Okay, get static paths, what it will do is it will generate all the pages, or it will know that these are all the URLs which are valid, and anything coming beyond that will not be considered. That's how it works. So first of all, I will create an API which is going to give me all the slugs, because that is of utmost importance. So I'll go over here, I'll do slugs post old. I just need the slug and do a get dollar slugs. Okay, namings should be accurate. Okay, so what I'm saying is if I go to this URL, for example, I'll copy this, open a new tab. These are all the slugs that we need. Okay, it will be all 97 or 93, whatever it is. That what's the number? 93. Okay, so I need to quickly touch 100. So that will need to be generated. So let's now tell Next.js that this is the function which will need to be called when it needs to understand how many URLs are there. So again, export constant get, the function name is get static paths. Okay, get static path. Um, and it will return slugs for sure. But what happens is, again, it's an async function. Okay, it will return something. Just paths. Okay, it needs to send a path, so that's there. And fallback is also something which I will I will explain you what fallback is. Okay, we will come to this. I mean, I know what the problem is, but we will solve this in a bit. So I'll need to call an API first of all. So response is on slugs. Okay, we make this call, we will get all the slugs, and then let's do let posts equals response.data. Okay, and once this is done, what we will do is I'm getting this array, right? Yes. So let's just say I so there will be an array of strings, and what I can do is right, constant slugs. Okay, it's um, an array, and what I will do is posts dot map. Oops. Okay. It will not understand that it's an array, but I think I can. Um, I think I can skip this. What is going to happen is I will be able to bypass that particular thing. That's what I understand. Okay, the first thing is I'm getting a little confused, I think, but yeah, we'll try to solve this problem. So what has happened is I was writing the code on the wrong path. It's not on the home page that I need to write that. It should be inside the slug. Okay, stream is still on, right? Okay. Insert response was said it sometimes does gives errors. Import. Okay, I will check that. Right now it's a return, but I understand your problem. That what you are suggesting, Devjit. Okay. So first of all, I'm getting the posts. I'm creating an array of slugs which I need to pass. Okay. Then I do uh, post as post, and no, not as post. This okay, and I will do slugs dot push. Okay, there is a way of sending the information. You can see. I always find this a little tricky. Where is the documentation? Yeah, here it is. See, path is an array. It has parameters, params, ID, this, right? So what I'm going to do over here is params, slug, and then post dot slug. This is something which I'm going to push here. So let's see, slugs, okay, and right. So it needs to understand the type because of the TypeScript thing. So it says that okay, it is expecting um, this kind of an object which I'm initializing right now as empty. Let's see. Will this now work? It does. I know this is working because if I go to components, block details, I can see my data. Yeah. So which means if now I come over here and do interface, props, and then post is of type post, similar to what I have done already. I'll do post, come over here, h1, and this will be post dot title, and you will face a problem over here which is post dot summary. Okay, but that's fine, and we will tackle that. But this is the title which we are kind of getting from the API. Go back, and I'm getting this. Go back, understanding the secrets, I'm getting this. So my basic flow of listing, and from listing clicking to going to the detail is actually working. But now let's look at the next level, which is can I generate all the pages? Because we saw we were able to generate the home page using the next npm run build command, right? So I'll just close this out, npm run build, and this is going to fail right now because we face an interesting kind of a problem when the build is happening. I'll show you. Yeah, it will say it gets a bad JSON. Okay, it is clearly suggesting request failed with status 429. Okay, and what is 429? Laravel 429 status code. Too many requests, right? So when we get too many requests, can you understand what is happening? So these are API calls, and API has a throttling. I can make 60 API calls in a minute, and I exceeded that because I have 93 plus URLs to scan. So what can we do? I guess the only option right now I have is go inside the kernel, and throttle can be stopped for some time. There is some way to increase it to something, a number which is higher. I know it is 60 by default, but for now I will just disable it, and let's wait. Are there any pings? My stream is working, I hope. Okay. Yes, Debjit, it's 60 API calls per minute, and that's why I was exceeding it. And now you can see that it generated these URLs. The first three are here and plus 89, which definitely means if I go inside my next static, no, server, pages, just read, expand it, you'll see all the HTML pages are generated. Okay, and that will mean that now if I go to my terminal, switch off my API completely, npm run start, So you can see API is not working, but if I go to localhost 3000, every URL will work. Why? Because these are already generated. And that is what really excites me. This is why I want my website to be generated in this thing. I, I, I feel, if I'm not completely wrong, this is something called as Jamstack, where we build the entire thing. But yeah, I could be wrong. But yeah, the basic idea is now with this entire next thing, when I push it on Vercel, right, the Vercel's build process will generate everything, and my website is going to be very fast on the CDN servers. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's how I wanted to create that POC on how I can get my this kind of a working prototype of the blog application which I already have, and obviously I'll need to do this all markup inside Tailwind, but the basic structure is working, the POC is working, and what we used was Laravel for API. We need the API so that the pages can be generated, and then we used Next.js to get the entire front end done. So now let's see. If you guys have any questions, I will try to answer them, and after that I will stop the stream. It's around 12:27, so maybe 5-10 minutes if there are any questions. Yeah. Oh, by the way, one important thing I would um, like to tell you, npm run. Okay, first do start, and over here, if I change this right from 24 to 25, can you see it's a 404? Why? Because go down, fallback is false. Okay, fallback false means if it doesn't get the slug, it will default to something else. But let me open up the server and set it to true, and it's right now on npm run start. It needs to be on npm run dev. What is going to happen is it gives you this kind of a thing, which means it tries to fetch that information. Okay, so if you have a situation where you feel that you don't always want to generate the entire site, you can keep this. Okay, fallback true. But I feel I will go with the fallback as false and see how things go. And if I'm really facing a problem, then maybe I'll switch to fallback as true. But otherwise, I won't do that, because my understanding is that my home page will be created only once. So if I post a new blog, the entry still needs to come on the home page, and the home page will only get updated when I build the website, right? So that's why fallback for me will be initially false, but I'll still keep an eye. Yeah, this is important. Okay, I have a question, I think. The static pages will be generated using the build command. And if I want to regenerate it, what I will do is I'll go to Vercel and just click on redeploy. My understanding is that it will then try to generate all the pages. So what I will do is I will create the blog post, I'll make the database entry, and then I will go and regenerate on Vercel, and that will result in those pages generating again, and that will basically mean the home page will get updated, and the inner pages will also start showing up, and they won't expire. I mean, it will just regenerate. um, so build local, use GitHub privately host site, Vercel deploy when new, push to main. Yes, so the site the code base, the front end code base will be on GitHub. The back end code base will be on a private repository, maybe on GitLab, because I will be doing a CI/CD pipeline for that. But yeah, the flow is use the Laravel's backend to create the blog post, and once the blog post is added, the API, which in our case is first of all the slugs, right? The slugs will start showing up. Okay, a new article will start showing up on this API, and the that will show up over here as well. So first the home page will get the update, the slugs will get the update, and based on that, the inner page will also get generated. That's how things will be. I hope that answers your question, Dipchit. All right, so I think that's about it, guys. I'll take a leave now. Thanks for joining, and it was fun creating the POC. And once again, I'm very sorry for the stream breaking in between. I really didn't understand that it happened. I was just too focused on the development, and then suddenly I realized that this little thing was not showing up, and hence I looked at the thing and I understood that yeah, the stream was off. If something got missed, I will only be able to understand that once I see the video. So I'm again sorry about that. So yeah, thanks for watching.